I wanted to talk about some of the autistic traits that I have that help to lead to a diagnosis. I was diagnosed at 25 years old, and some of these were the key things that helped me not only on that path to get diagnosed, but during the diagnosis itself. These are the things that the assessor asked me about, we spoke about. This is by no means an exhaustive list of the autistic traits that I have, but just some of the key ones that might help people if they're on a path to diagnosis or considering it. The first one is eye contact. It's a very stereotypical autistic trait, but it's a common one that a lot of us struggle with. I think a lot of us don't even realise it because we do give eye contact, but we think about it and force it, and don't necessarily realise that that's not how neurotypical people do it. They don't think about having to give eye contact, they just instinctively look somebody in the eye when they're talking to them. This is actually the trait that directly triggered my diagnosis. My university professor, after a kind of pretend work interview thing, said that I don't give eye contact and it's something that I need to work on. I had never considered autism before she said that. I walked out of that meeting and thought, I know what eye contact, not being able to hold eye contact, is a sign of. And I went home and researched, and a lot of the traits I'm about to talk to you now are what flagged up as, okay, maybe there's more to this autism thing than brushing off as just eye contact. So that's a big one. Not just can you give eye contact, but is it something that you are consciously thinking about? Even when I give eye contact, I am very conscious of how many seconds I stare into their eyeballs and then looking away, which is probably wrong even when I do give it. The second one is rules. Not even necessarily that autistic people won't break the rules, have to stick to the rules or anything like that. I think it's just different in how we perceive rules, how we see them as a representation of a way that something should be done, which then leads us to get frustrated and question it if we're told to do it a different way. If the rule is saying don't put your bins out before 6 o'clock, then my brain is not going to understand when somebody says, oh, it's fine, just put them out. It's not necessarily this big grand, Sheldon Cooper style, every rule must be followed. It just might be that doing things differently than what is the set process, the set rule, could potentially be a lot more frustrating for somebody that likes things to be a certain way, and rules are a representation of how something should be done. It's not necessarily about being wrong or getting told off for breaking the rule, although I know a lot of us do have that fear of authority and getting things wrong. It's more, for me, certainly about doing something a way that it's not supposed to be done. If the rule is there, then we should follow it. Another one is changing clothes. It's something I really, really struggle with. I have a very limited wardrobe. I have the same pair of jeans. You can see one of my shirts there drying. I have that brand of shirt. It's in literally like 20, 30 different colours. And I sleep in it. I went for a very long walk yesterday with a friend. It was like 14-kilometre walk. I went in a shirt and jeans and trainers, the only shirt, jeans and trainers that I can wear. I'm very limited. I joke that I am a cartoon character walking around. It's not easy for me to change clothes. I get used to the clothes that I'm wearing, and they're a big part of your sensory input. So to change clothes, people that just wear random clothes for just one night and then just get up and just choose all different clothes and order different clothes, and it's a completely foreign concept to me. I wear clothes that are the same, or within a very limited. Collars is something that I very much need, so if it's not going to be a shirt, then it's going to be a collar top, and then if I went out and about, I'd put a jumper over it so I have sleeves. The fourth one, which is similar to restricted clothes, is restricted food. I very much live my life in a set parameter and struggle with things outside of that. So clothes is an example of that. Food is another example of that. I'm getting better at trying to try new things, but I have to have the mental energy to do that. I have to, if my partner wants me to try something, there'll be times where I'll say, today's not the day. Today is not the day for me to try new food. I very much eat, I'm more than happy to eat the same thing every day. I have my same foods. And if I don't have my same foods, it can be difficult for me to eat if I don't have the energy. I've recently learned that potato waffles can go in a toaster, which has been a lifesaver for me being able to eat every day, because I can literally just, they're gluten-free. I'm allergic to gluten. My previous gluten-free bread changed the recipe, so there's no gluten-free bread at the moment that I can eat, which makes things difficult for me, because that was a big part of my food routine, was toast every morning. Can't have that anymore. So I tend to have potato waffles every day. But my food is, my cupboards are full of one thing many, many times. And it's a bit frustrating when people get, especially when parents get funny at autistic children for eating the same thing, because I know the importance of a balanced diet, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to be able to eat all different kinds of foods every day, because that would just take way too much of my energy and I wouldn't be able to do with life. So I'm going to eat same foods pretty much most days. Stimming is another thing. So by stimming, I mean repetitive movements or noises. Well, obviously got the pen. To do this video, I pretty much always have something to fiddle with. I click a lot. I do this if I'm nervous. All sorts of stimming. Verbal stimming is, I have more control over verbal stimming because you can't get away with it in public. My funniest verbal stim is to sing "We Wish You a Merry Christmas," which I can get away with November, December, January. Any other time of the year, I get very funny looks when I sing "We Wish You a Merry Christmas." I don't even know why I do it. I just do it. So I find it quite funny. I find it funnier when I do that and it is the right time of year and people think I'm actually singing it because it's Christmas and don't realise I sing it all year round. But yeah, stimming obviously helps us to regulate. It helps us to calm our nervous system. It's a big part of, for me, I think it's autism being really clever. I think it's our inbuilt way of regulating ourselves, which is not a bad thing, and we certainly shouldn't suppress stimming. You can kind of direct it into, more accepted ways, like playing with a pen. But we certainly shouldn't stop ourselves from stimming because it helps. Number 6 is not understanding sarcasm and thinking literally. I can be sarcastic. I cannot understand sarcasm. Well, sometimes. It's probably 20% of the time I'll understand it, 80% I won't. I tend to take people at their word if they're saying something. It doesn't cross my mind that they're being sarcastic or kind of making any kind of joke or being silly. I just take them at their word. And when it comes to literal thinking, I've got better as I've got older. My instinct is to think literally, but as I've got older, my mind will course correct, so I'll often get a funny literal interpretation in my mind and then an alarm going off going, that probably doesn't make any sense, that's probably not what they mean. But that alarm doesn't always come in time and I'll react to the literal interpretation. Or to some people in my life I'm comfortable with, I will, even though I've realised it's not the literal, I'll still share my literal understanding because it can be pretty funny sometimes. But my mind will instinctively take something literally. It doesn't stop to think that there's another interpretation until years of embarrassing situations that have now caused me to stop and think about something that might seem a little odd. Touch averse is another one. I am touch averse to everybody other than I could name on one hand the people that I'm not touch averse to: my children, my partner. If anybody remotely touches me, I can feel it for a long time after. It's like I've been burnt is the closest feeling. If somebody brushes my hand, It feels like I need to get it off. It's there for a long time after. It's really uncomfortable. It's just, I cannot cope with being touched. And this isn't just by strangers. This is, even family members, siblings, which, is difficult because it's not a personal thing. It's just, I just can't cope with being touched, especially if it's unexpected. If I get touched and I didn't see it coming, that then becomes even more of a mental hurdle to process the fact that I've been touched. Number 8 is sensory overload and unable to filter out noise. I've thought a lot recently about the term background noise. In my experience, it's something that neurotypicals can talk about more than autistic people. I don't think I really have background noise. I think every noise is at the forefront of my mind, and that's what sensory overload is all those noises competing for your attention, and then it just becomes too much and you can't cope with it and you need to escape. I don't have a way of filtering out background noises like that car, if anybody just heard that car. Noises like that come straight to the front of my mind. They're not something in the background. Number 9 is special interests. This has been a difficult one for me over the last few years because my big special interest is Harry Potter. That's obviously problematic. In recent years, it was not a choice for it to become a special interest. After that, it was very much rooted in a safe part of my brain for a long time before it became problematic. So that's a bit difficult for me to talk about, but most autistic people have some kind of interest that excites them, makes them feel safe, they want to talk about. And it could be music, movies. It doesn't have to be the kind of cliche trains type autistic interest. It could be anything that captivates your mind and you want to think about it all the time and you want to engage with it. Like for me with Harry, if I'm having a meltdown, Harry is the thing that will calm me down. I will go in a dark room and I will play Philosopher's Stone, and it's the ultimate comfort blanket for my mind. The last one I've put is emotional regulation and understanding my emotions. I'm not good at real-time figuring out how I feel about something. It can often be a delayed reaction that takes me time to get my head around what my emotions actually are, and then it becomes difficult for me to regulate my emotional response to that. I've got better as I've got older, but there are definitely times that I have an emotional reaction to something and I don't really understand why. My emotions can kind of go up and down if something's going on, and I don't really have full control over what I'm reacting to. And then it can be a day or two or weeks, months later where I go, oh, okay, this was why I reacted this way and this was the trigger that caused it. But I'm not always good in that moment at knowing why I feel that way, which can be obviously difficult as an adult because you're expected to be able to regulate your emotions. But I think that's a case of supporting yourself with people that can help you regulate your emotions. So these are kind of the main things that I spoke about during my diagnosis, which may help people think about either if you're autistic or things that might come up in a diagnosis conversation. They are likely to want examples and kind of, anybody can give a list of traits, but, explaining how they impact your life and what can be made difficult from them.